A ruin is never completely finished. A ruin can always be more of a ruin. This commission, we were building sandcastles, but the wind blew them away, final 3.psd, refers to the idea of architecture as a process. This building used to be a community space called Nadi Al Quoz that was a cafe and also like an events place for the community here at Alserkal Avenue. But then if we go back in time, before 2015, it used to be a marble factory, and right here was when the cutting facilities for the marble factory were located. If we go back 40 years ago, it was a piece of desert that belonged to Sheikh Rashid, who gave it away to the Emiratis as gifts. And if we go back 12,000 years ago, it was a wetland, of which we are finding evidence in our excavation when we start finding seashells. To continue exploring our practice on degrowth and our work around degrowing cities and degrowth in general. We want to go away from the idea that degrowth equals subtraction or removing things or stopping development. So for us, it was very important for this commission to minimize waste and to minimize things that we were taking away from this building.
So when we're thinking about how can Nadi degrow, it was also about understanding how the materials can circulate within the space. In terms of materials, for example, we removed all the glass panes on the facades. Of course, those glass panes are made out of the sand, and there is a process where you can actually return the glass back to the sand.
Or a lot of the sand that we excavated, we put in the sandbags, and then that configured the new facade, as well as the rubble from the superficial concrete layers, which then became ramps.
Those graphical parts, kind of lettering that we was putting, burning in these walls, it's from São Paulo, from the late 60s. Those tissue sound was used by the graffiti writers in the streets to mark the abandoned buildings in the city, but we was using it like in verse, bringing this inside interior. We was interested into working with all these accelerated timelines and how we can upcycle the materials, but also how we can build from the existing materials other elements.
It seems kind of counterintuitive to think about the ruins and degrowth in a city like Dubai, because it's very much associated with growth and expansion. But actually there is vacancy, and there is places that continue to be demolished and built on and so on. And some of the locations that we found very inspiring, that kind of reflected on these processes that happen in a very short time span in an accelerated way here, was Al Madam. The dunes have taken over the buildings and has created this new architecture.
The city of Dubai is so removed from the sand. It's something that you don't see when you are navigating through the city. You almost forget that the desert exists at the outskirts. So we wanted to bring the sand back as a gesture to that kind of cliched idea of the Emirati ruin. But for us, this is not about a vision that we have for the future. Rather, it's a conversation started, an exotic element that we too are exploiting as a way to start a new conversation on what the future ruin can be and how do we relate to ruins in this context.